Welcome back to another episode of the Conquer Your Mountain Show. I'm stoked about this one, guys. Honestly, like really stoked. This gentleman I have with me today is somebody who has been on my list to be on the show for, in fact, the entire time I've had the show. And you go back in the DMs and I've talked about having him on the show for probably the last year, and it's my fault. It's my fault for taking this long. But without further ado, I want to introduce Noah Kingery, which goes by @Transformational Truth on Instagram. You guys look him up right now. You will see unbelievable before and after, and he's got an even more impressive story. We're going to dive into the story a little bit today, but we've got some amazing stuff planned for you that we're going to tell you later in the episode. So without further ado, Noah, welcome to the show.
Man, it's good to be here, and we're so close as far as our stories, and of course we had different journeys to get to where we are today. But one thing that you and I discussed before this podcast and before whatever it is to come is to add value to those that are currently in the shoes that we once were.
Yes.
And I think that I know my mission in my life has turned into that purpose to do exactly that. Yeah. Whether that be paying it forward, guiding individuals to optimal health, or on the flip side, adding value for those, whether it be directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
I think that, for us, and I speak for you and I, for us to be able to not just have an extreme weight loss, but sustain that years later, there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be said about it.
Yeah.
And it's not linear and it's not perfect,
yeah.
By any means, and there is no destination. Yeah. And I talk about it a lot. You feel, okay, I'm going to be, my goal weight and everything's going to be perfect. Those problems and those issues and those struggles and those past poor habits are still there.
Oh yeah.
And they creep back up.
Isn't it amazing though how I think the average person, especially on social media, the average person looks at your transformation photo, they look at my transformation photo, and they do think it's linear. Mm-hmm. They do think, oh, how long did that, and you get this question a lot because I get it a lot. Oh, how long did that take you? Oh, how long, that's because that's where their brain goes. Yeah. How much minimal work do I have to put in order to get these results, and my life's going to be drastically changed, and then I can go back to living, right? Mm-hmm. It was living their way that got them to the start photo to begin with.
Yeah.
And that, how often do you get that question?
Oh, it's constant, and I tell people all the time is that whatever you're doing right now to get into the shape that you are in or that you want to be, whatever you're doing right now to break that addiction that you want to break, whatever you're doing right now to change your lifestyle completely, you have got to continue to do it when you get to where you want to be.
Oh yeah.
There's no destination.
No. Yeah.
And my journey, I'll give you some tidbits that are deep about where I started. And, if you backtrack 2007, I was playing professional youth soccer in Brazil. Wow. It was an amazing opportunity, but that was my passion and that was my gift. And that was really my purpose, to play pro. And I had the option to stay there or come back and sign to colleges and take scholarships and all of that. And I had a long distance relationship at the time. It was a very toxic, young love, again, high school sweetheart type thing. And I got my priorities mixed up. I walked away from soccer and walked away from school all in the same summer in 2007.
Wow. Was that to go to the girl to bridge the gap and go and chase love?
It was that, and it was really the passion for the game kind of dying out.
Yeah.
And here's what I say is that if you have something that you're passionate about or something that you're working really hard at to master that, you cannot take a day off. Mm-hmm. And the minute that you feel like, okay, things are fine, that complacency is going to start kicking in really quickly. The other thing is this, is that if you are focused on a goal, if you are focused on something that you want to completely achieve, it is going to take everything for you to do it, and constant focus and refocus to do it.
Let's tie that. Let's get even more specific, if you don't mind. I completely agree. 100% agree. And I sometimes will use the word obsessed when I'm talking about a transformation journey. And I've gotten some backlash for that. I've gotten some, oh, that's not balance. That's not, listen, no, you've lost 190 pounds. I've lost over 130. You don't, anyone losing over probably 60 or 80. You didn't get that way because you knew what balance was.
No.
And so you're not going to fix or rectify that problem by some unknown balance that you didn't even have to begin with.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about this when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to, and not even just weight loss, but true transformation. Dive into that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big difference between weight loss, extreme weight loss, and lifestyle change.
Yeah.
There just is. Because a lot of weight loss and extreme weight loss comes with extremities and things that aren't sustainable. Now, when it comes to being obsessed with whatever you're trying to accomplish or whatever you're trying to do, especially when it comes to weight loss, I think it takes a level of commitment and dedication and sacrifice that most people may be able to do for 6 weeks, may be able to do for 12 weeks, but they can't do it long term. And
certainly not, you know, 3.5 years, 13 years, there's a big difference.
Yeah. And you know, so walked away from soccer. I gained 210 pounds a year later.
Whoa.
I went from 143 to 356, so 213 pounds later. You can imagine the emotional torment. You can imagine wanting to escape desperately from being a quote-unquote failure.
Yeah.
And my life turned upside down in 1 year.
Yeah.
And that was the end of 2007. I maintained that weight of 356 pounds for 3 years. And so maintaining that weight, at 356 pounds came with incredible addiction.
Yeah.
Came with those temporary escapes that I so desperately needed I would say, escape past failures and escape those pressures of life. And at 356 pounds, I was suicidal. Life just wasn't worth living in many, many cases. And, I say that a loss of dreams or making rash decisions can impact many, many years of your life.
Absolutely.
And if you have the option and if you have the option to make your choices every single day, don't think about what's happening right then. Don't think about what's happening tomorrow. Think about how that will impact you for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And every single decision, every single choice adds up major. Yeah. And that is with anything that you want to do, anything that you want to accomplish. And, so being 356 pounds, suicidal, in 2012, I was on the 31st floor balcony with my legs hanging off. Ugh. Life wasn't worth it. Life was absolutely not worth it. Family relationships were disappearing.
Yeah.
Trust was completely gone.
Yeah.
And I felt at that time, I was a very successful fashion designer. I felt at that time I could do so many things and accomplish so much, but the one thing that I could not control was my addiction and my weight.
Yeah. Prior to that, during these years that you were maintaining 356 pounds, was there any sort of in the back of your head going, oh, I shouldn't eat that. Oh, I need to lose weight. Did you try? Because most of us tried. We tried something, right? Where there's small attempts here and there, a day of eating a salad or whatever. Yeah.
In 2010, I lost 143 pounds and I regained it a year later.
Oh my gosh.
So I know what extreme is, and to go back to what you were saying a little while ago about being obsessive or being extreme, and there's not really such a thing as balance. You got to be all or nothing. I would much rather be all or nothing than mediocre.
Yep.
And balance doesn't mean giving the gym 4 hours a day, giving your work 4 hours a day, giving your family 4 hours a day, and giving yourself 4 hours a day. That's not balance.
Right.
Balance is being incredibly intentional with your priorities and the time that you're spending within those.
That's a great word. Intentional. A lot of people aren't.
Absolutely.
And it's a big thing that I talk about with my clients is setting intentions. Setting intentions for your day, because a lot of people don't.
Absolutely.
Right. And something you said earlier kind of sparked, when we are doing anything mediocre or we're doing anything half in, these habits and behaviors that cause us to gain 100, some people hundreds of pounds, they're ingrained. They're in there.
Absolutely.
And so if you are not in it, if you're not intentional, if you're not mentally focused on where you're going and what you're doing, habits going to pull you back. The same habits that caused the weight gain to begin with, it's going to pull you back. Yeah.
And those habits don't just change.
No.
People will, get into whether it is their transformation journey or their business, and they haven't stewarded the job that they hate.
Yeah.
Yet they get hit with the best opportunity possible. They can't steward it. They have no idea what it is. They expect those past habits, destructive habits, mind you, to just disappear,
right,
because they had a couple good weeks,
right, which is so not the case.
It's absolutely not. And I say this when it comes to the clients that I work with today in their transformation journeys, is that you are going to fall down. This is not linear. Nothing about it is, and nothing about it is easy. It's going to take your sacrifices, but do find, quote unquote, the balance between how much you're sacrificing and what you're able to sustainably sacrifice without creating that crazy yo-yo of weight loss and weight gain and the things that it does to you, you know? So I mean, 2010, I lost 143 pounds, man. Wow. I regained it all back a year later.
Which statistically happens to most people.
Absolutely. 93%. I said this on Instagram yesterday. 93% of individuals that lose weight regain it 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I believe the statistic is higher.
Yep.
And I could talk all day long about shortcuts and quick fixes and things that will never last.
Yeah. And we probably will. We'll have another episode about it.
Absolutely. But I think that that's something, and I said this on a previous thing, is that IG is like instant gratification.
Yep.
Everybody wants quick. Everybody wants easy. People don't want to work for it anymore. And I'm telling you, if you work for it, you are going to be proud of what you're able to accomplish with that work.
Yeah.
And more importantly, when you fall down, you're going to have those stepping stones to get right back up.
Amen. Because that's what it's about. Everyone's going to fall down. None of us are perfect. Even Noah and I, having quote unquote successful weight loss transformations that we've sustained, still fall down.
Absolutely.
We still, I'll be transparent with you guys. This kind of my commitment, going forward, is to stop hiding behind, feeling like I'm a coach, so I can't show you that and Noah and I were sitting in the gym parking lot less than a week ago. And I said, listen, man, I struggled even not too long ago with having alcohol come back into my life not, I wouldn't say excessive, but for me, it was excessive. For me, it was like, who is this? What's going on here? And that happened because I let go of the reins a little bit. Yeah. I let loose a little bit. My focus went to A, B, and C instead of just having that grip on old habits, old behaviors, and how easily we can justify. Oh man, it's been a rough day. I'm going to pour a vodka soda. Sure. Or it's been a rough. I forgot to go grocery shopping, so Justin, my son, let's just order pizza tonight. Yeah. So and it's so easy to justify it, right? Yeah. Because it's like, hey, we're fit. Yeah. We're fit. I don't need to one pizza. It's not gonna do anything, right? Sure. But the wake up call that I was telling you in the parking lot was, well, that was happening more frequently and more frequently and more frequently, and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap. Something's not right here. This isn't me. Yeah. And past habits come back with a vengeance, and I think it's incredibly important to be transparent. You have got to find your accountability and those people that are in your life that you can be transparent with. Yeah. Because I really believe that. I believe that transparency is crucial. I know for myself, yes, I've been maintaining lifestyle change for 3.5 years, but I still struggle. Yeah.
And I think me being transparent, not just to my accountability, but being transparent to those who I keep accountable is massive. Because they actually believe that it's possible, because there's no such thing as perfection. And I think that that portrayal of that before and after, what you don't see is all of the work and the depth of struggle to get there. What you don't see is the maintenance part of it afterwards being 10 times harder than what it was before you even lost the weight.
Oh, yeah.
What you don't see is the lack of, I would say, the lack of willpower that can come upon us at any time if we're not continuing to stay sharp and sharpening those tools. So as far as the weight gain and the regain and the loss and then the regain again, that put me in a very, very dark place. Everything from the addiction to, of course, the alcohol, the cocaine, that lifestyle. It kept me in the dark, it kept me in a dark, dark place for a very long time. And I wish sometimes that I could get that time back. I wish I knew the damage and destruction that it would cause in my life years later from those compounded choices. I wish I knew what I knew now. Years later, after looking back at it. However, because I've gone through it, because I've been there in many, many cases, from the addiction, from the suicide, from the weight loss, from sustaining lifestyle change, from the struggle of losing everything overnight to rebuilding my life, I can identify with those who are currently in the thick of the struggle.
That empathy is, that's undoubtedly what sets us apart from a lot of people, a lot of quote unquote coaches, a lot of people out there helping other people. It's the empathy. It's the experience that we have. And,
absolutely.
You said something earlier that struck me, and it was something in regards to think about the decisions you're making and how they're going to impact you 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Right. And it was those decisions in those dark days that in the moment, you were probably, just based on what you said here, cocaine, drugs, pills, alcohol, food, obviously, making these decisions just to have a quick temporary high or a quick temporary distraction from emotions, not thinking that this is leading you down a path that's going to completely destroy or, nearly destroy your life.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
But it becomes a part of you. Your habits and your choices that you're making every single day start to become a part of you and ingrained in the way that you reflex and you react to situations that are in your life. Jeremy, I'll tell you right now, we were sitting out in the parking lot last week and you were talking about your struggle, with the alcohol and just slowly slipping back into old ways. And we spoke about temporary escapes, and you wake up the next morning and you are hungover and your problems are still there. You wake up the night after a binge, your problems are still there. For anybody that's watching this right now or listening to this that is in the thick of their struggle, I want to encourage you to think about three things. One is that you cannot change what you haven't done right. But what you do right now can create incredible impact for what's ahead. For two, build your support system and build your transparency. Drop the ego, drop the pride, drop any of that.
So important.
Because the minute that you do that, you will be lighter. You will. You don't need to get in the dark and be by yourself. You don't need to struggle with that. There are many other individuals that can identify, i.e. help you. But the third thing is that whatever you do right now, you are going to have to continue to do it. Be mindful, be patient, be intentional. Build those stepping stones. Build those stepping stones. Find your why. Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to break the addiction? Why do you want to get out of that dead-end job that you absolutely can't stand?
Right.
And then build a action plan of those stepping stones around that. Because the minute that you're able to build those stepping stones, like I said earlier, when you fall down, which you will, you'll be able to get right back to it. You know, and I mean, 2014, I was 356 pounds. I was back to addiction. I was back to the lifestyle. And I went to bed, $7 million in my bank account.
Oh my gosh.
And lost it all overnight. Like literally overnight. December 31st, I went to bed. Jan 1st, it was gone.
Oh my gosh.
I'll spare the details because I'm sure we'll get into a
maybe
lot
another
more.
time, yeah.
But what I will say is that 2014 forced me to my knees. I was looking at 20 years in prison, financial crimes investigation, and I said, if I don't change now, nothing will ever be a change.
Jeez.
And I will never be able to clear my name and clear. This is my time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was literally do or die.
There was no plan B. There
No
was
plan B,
Yeah, there was
you
no,
know?
oh, let's give this a shot. It was
No plan B,
Yeah.
you know, and so I'll fast forward to that. By 2016, I'd lost 190 pounds, and I was sitting in the parking lot, still in the fashion industry, trying to rebuild my life, and I, you know, said to myself, I need more, I want more, and I have got to find my purpose through my story and really work to impact those that are out there, that are in my struggle that I was in not just 2 years ago.
Love
and
that.
I had $16 in my bank account sitting outside a vitamin shop, and my mom said, why don't you delve in heavy into nutrition and then start coaching people, but more importantly, deeper than the nutrition, start to create impact and watch lives change.
Yeah.
And I get goosebumps when I'm talking about it because I am watching lives change
Yeah.
today. In 2012, when I was struggling with my addiction, my sister said, write in your dream book things that you want to accomplish so that you can break this addiction. And while I was doing that, the last thing that I had wrote, because I had lost 143 pounds before that and regained,
Yeah.
I wrote, pay it forward for another individual who is struggling with their weight. That was in 2012. By the grace of God, I'm here.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. By the grace of my support system, I'm here without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
And I am living out purpose today, but it is so gratifying. I can sleep at night with a clear conscience
Yeah.
and a really deep fulfillment. Because like I said, I'm watching marriages change. I'm watching sons be better sons and addictions being broken. And I mean, you name it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
How
able to
rewarding
watch.
is that, by the way?
And it's the great thing is, though, it's the tool of nutrition that I know played such a huge role in mine.
Yeah.
It's the tool of nutrition, but it's the deep emotional side with that accountability that comes much, much more and deeper
yeah.
than any diet plan and any structure will
yeah.
ever do.
Yeah, because all diets are going to work. It's and something you said in your kind of your three things. The second thing you talked about having transparency, and I think that's something that the listeners need to ask themselves if they truly are in their own journey being truly transparent. Because what I've found is that most people aren't even they're not even getting past their ego to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even admitting to themselves how bad their habits or behaviors or mindsets or self-talk is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in conversations with other people or in, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everything's blah, blah, like just this surface level. They're not even admitting to themselves that they need help.
Absolutely.
Or that they have no one in their corner, or that they feel alone, or scared.
Yeah. And it starts with you.
Yeah.
Do you know how many years my family would watch me drunk driving and living crazy, how badly and desperately they wanted me to be healthy, mentally, emotionally, physically? but I didn't want it bad enough for me.
Right.
You know, and I say it starts with you. That's right.
Yeah.
But you had better utilize other individuals in your life, even if you have to utilize them as a rope and a hand up. Utilize them, but learn to walk on your own. Because if they become a crutch for far too long, you will not know how to do it by yourself. You know, and so, yeah, you know, it's been quite a journey, you know, and I'm able to work with 50 individuals in the States and 50 individuals overseas. That's 100 lives, and it's a lot, and I'm working around the clock.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I'm incredibly passionate, but deeper than that, this is my purpose in my life.
Yeah.
And man, passion and motivation and being inspired is going to come and go like water.
Yeah.
But purpose, man, it's what refuels me. It's what keeps me steady. You know, you talked about balance and all that earlier. Dude, there is no balance between motivation and being down in the dumps.
Yeah.
If you can find that middle ground, which in my case with my work is purpose, it's very emotionally draining. But if you can find that middle ground with work ethic and discipline in your life, the days that you're not motivated, you're going to show up.
That's right.
But those are the days that count the most, you know?
Yeah.
And not every day you're going to, though. There are going to be days that you just fall and you don't show up.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's important to continue to get back up because it will become like a reflex in your life. And stop running from your problems.
Yeah.
Start to face things head on. Transparency, be transparent with your struggles, but start to face things head on. Look yourself in the mirror right now and ask yourself, where are you where you want to be? And if you're not, what is it going to take?
Yeah. It's interesting. That was my first, that was my change. That was my aha moment, whatever you want to call it, was looking at myself in the mirror. You know, I was smoking 2 packs a day. I was drinking every night. I was binging, like hardcore eating. Woke up in the morning, I'm hacking my lungs out, and I look at myself in the mirror naked. You guys have seen my start photo. Imagine staring that, having that stare back at you. And I truly, in that moment, was just like, I deserve better. Like, as a human, I'm not a bad guy. I don't go ripping people off. I'm not, I'm not,
Sure.
like, I'm a good guy. Why am I abusing myself so harshly? Like, I am abusing me more than anyone has ever abused me in my life, ever. And I deserve better than that. Sure. And when you can truly look at yourself, right? We talk about that transparency. When you can truly look at yourself, not in hate, not in judgment, not in just factual almost, just factual. You can then simply ask yourself the question, is this within your standards of living? Is this what you want for your life?
Yeah.
If you to your point, are the decisions you're making right now, currently, are they, what's it going to be like in 3 years, 5 years, right? Because some of these listeners, sadly, if they continue down this path, might not even be alive in 3 years or 5 years. That's the sad reality of some of the things that we dealt with in our life.
Sure.
They'll kill us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, all of those things, that you are constantly doing, they will become a part of you. That's just it, and I like the pain and pleasure method with whatever experience I've gone through, with whatever I'm doing, whether that be with the eating, whether that be with the drinking, whether that be with any of it. What I do is I try to connect that pain and disdain for those destructive things that are adding no value for me.
Sure.
How did I feel the day after that binge or that emotional eating? How did I feel the week after that weekend bender? How poorly did I feel, and were my problems still there? They were still there.
Yeah.
But they were magnified 10 times.
Yeah. And now with more shame, more guilt.
With more shame and more guilt and more emotional distress to add to what all other problems there were. And then you look at that pleasure method and you say, I didn't binge last night. And man, I woke up this morning, I was sharp and I was feeling good and I was feeling just in my zone. Everyone out there, whether you are in the journey right now or you are maintaining lifestyle change, you all know that feeling of how good it feels to make those optimal decisions for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have that total opposite of how poorly it feels when you're choosing those destructive habits.
Yeah.
And I want to add to that, if you are in your journey right now and you are falling on your face every other day, start to build a deep disdain for how poorly you feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Start to do that. And it will allow you, I believe, to find your deeper why of what you're doing this for.
Right. And that's something that I'd like to kind of break that down just for a second. One of the reasons why we and a lot of people listening to this are going to escape with food or alcohol or porn or you name it. A lot of the reasons why they're escaping because they don't want to take a look at the pain. They are trying to escape the pain. And so it's not in their first nature to start to look at this stuff with clarity or even just honesty, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're asking them to do, I think is brilliant. And I think is really going to open a doorway for that incredible transparency for themselves. But I also think it's important to note too that you guys, when you are doing this, when you're looking at how miserable you feel from last night's bender, and trust me, I've been there. We both have talked about this. We both have talked this before. Waking up, I mean, how many of you can attest to how you feel the night after you ate, a pizza and a half by yourself, and you wake up just miserable, both physically and mentally. Yeah. But to be able to look at that and take that and use that as fuel to push yourself to a side of health and growth and honesty and transparency and love for your life it's incredibly powerful. But you guys, you can't fall back into that old pattern of using that miserable feeling and then beating the crap out of yourself because of it. That's not where we're going with this. We're not telling you to abuse yourself even further, with words. We're just saying take an honest look at your life. Take an honest look at how you're feeling.
Absolutely. And
use that as fuel to take action today. Right?
Yeah. And that, I mean, we both work, in coaching and, working with individuals to do much deeper than just changing the way they eat.
Yeah.
If you have a binge last night, I'm not telling you to eat an apple tomorrow.
Right.
I'm digging deep to find out, was that emotional hunger or was that physical hunger? Yeah, I think emotional eating, I think binge eating, I think all of that comes down to relationship with food.
Yep.
Comes down to lack of transparency and support. And it comes down to identifying and digging deeper to find those deep wounds that are there that you want to escape from, or those pressures of life that you want to escape from. What I say is that whenever you, take that temporary escape that is destructive, it's like having wounds, but every time before it's even healed, you're pulling the Band-Aid. You're putting the Band-Aid on, but you're pulling it right off, and it opens it up again and again and again.
Yeah.
And I believe that you have years of pushing things down and putting Band-Aids on it. Put in the work, but believe that you're capable of doing it. I think so many individuals just don't believe.
Yeah.
They have failed at everything they could do up until this point.
Right.
Nothing is quote unquote worked.
Right. So the story in their head is they don't have what it takes. They're incapable of true change.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very easy to even subconsciously create this story in your head. You're not sitting there physically. Some of you might be, but most of us aren't sitting there going, you're such an idiot. You're a failure. You're weak. You can't do this. No, you're creating this story based on your past experiences, right? You gained the weight back. There's shame involved in that. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're waking up without even a belief that you can sustain it and do it again.
Yeah. So I do. I think that that's something. And, the guilt and the shame, it's like chains around your ankles.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's easier said than done, but let it go. Let that go. That 1 hour that you spent in the morning overeating doesn't need to turn to 23 hours after that.
Amen.
You can turn it around. I have clients that write me on a Tuesday and say, my week has been horrible. I say, but it's only Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let's get up.
Yeah.
We've got the rest of the week.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, I don't just simply tell them to get up, but I speak perspective into their lives to understand that they have come, one, they've come a long way. If they're in their journey, they've come a long way. Two, for them to even be transparent about it and share with vulnerability and say, I binged on Monday, that takes
Great.
courage.
Yeah, it does.
Those are steps that they probably haven't taken years before this, you know? And I think the third thing is letting them understand that, again, this is not linear. My dad passed in September. I had the binge eating urges constant. I haven't dealt with that for 3 years.
Yeah. But
So
it took something that massive, that emotionally deep to spark up those behaviors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those behaviors has not even been thought about, you know, but I had to, one, reach out to my accountability and support system immediately and say, hey, I'm struggling. I need your push and accountability during this time. We all need accountability. We
Amen.
all need mentors
Yep.
in our lives.
Yep.
We all do.
I agree.
No matter where you are, you know?
Yep.
And so I mean, reaching out to that and then going back to the principles that I have built for clients, with clients from my own journey and experience is figuring out and restructuring and reworking scheduling and meals and eating styles and all of that. You got to change things up every other season, no matter what you're doing. You got to, because things are going to come, you know. But I had to say to myself at the end of the day, the storms of life will not stop. They're going to keep going. You know, you have got to build and reinforce that raincoat, because if you don't have that, you're just going to drown. The sun will come out and you'll dry out, and then you're going to drown
back.
again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem, is that when times are good, most people don't work on their shit.
Yeah.
It's when the times are bad that they're saying, oh my gosh, I've got to work on X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of like praying for rain,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people do that, and I did that for many, many years. You know, a lot of people say, well, when I am 150 pounds, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I have that $1 million business, I will be satisfied.
Yeah.
But what are you doing in between all that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's so. I mean, you touched on a tremendous amount of stuff right there, but I do think that we tend to, as humans in general, we tend to wait until the shit hits the fan, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're going to take massive action now, and then once that pressure is no longer there, we release our grip, which happened to me.
Absolutely.
Right, and before you know it, the same behaviors, situations, life, you name it, is going to circle back around.
Absolutely.
And it's going to come in because you released the grips. It was there before, right? And all of a sudden the shit hits the fan again. Yeah. Oh my God. And then some people wonder why they keep going in this circular motion for years. Man, how many times have you heard this? Man, I've been gaining and losing the same. You fill in your own blank, guys.
I was there.
30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, but I've been gaining and losing the same because you're in the same pattern.
They've been doing the same.
You've been doing the same things, and you're expecting different results.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, back to your point, any of our clients who've stepped out, hired somebody that can truly help you, that's already a massive step in the right direction. You should. That's already a victory. That's already a win. Because you're no longer you're at least taking effort in breaking out of that circle that you're in, that cycle, you know. Yeah. And so just there's so many. I mean, dude. So we could talk for hours on your story, but we'll narrow it down here. But so you've been maintaining this weight loss for 3.5 years. You've been sober 5.5 years, correct?
That's exactly right.
That's awesome.
5.5. Yeah. On the 7th. So. July
Congratulations.
7th.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that's listening to this right now, having either substance abuse problems, food problems, or both, right? Which we both have had. And they're like, okay, well, that's great, Jeremy and Noah. That's congratulations, guys. Man, I don't know how I could even get through tonight without a drink. Or it's Friday and Friday's pizza night. So I don't know, what do you say to him right now?
I would say don't let it take losing everything to wake you up. Because that day may never come. It took me losing all of it, everything, to finally say, okay, I've got to make changes in my life. It was almost like I was forced. I say, don't let rock bottom come.
Most people don't survive their rock bottom.
No,
Yeah.
no, and most people don't get out of it.
Yeah.
But if you're in this cycle that you're constantly giving into, whether that be the binge eating or the drinking or whatever those
Yeah.
escapes are, the more you continue to give into them, the more life and the more strength you're giving to them, and they are that much harder to break. It may be every other day that you're able to say, I'm not going to have a drink. But I promise you, if you continue to string those days together, they will add incredible strength to your steps.
Amen.
You're probably hopeless. You've probably struggled and failed and spiraled so much. But I believe that nothing is too broken to be fixed.
Amen.
Take a step back. Release that to those that are in your life that can identify with that. And maybe you don't feel like you have people that are in your life that can, really lift you up. I believe that you do, but you're the one who is isolating yourself, and it doesn't have to be the case.
Yeah.
I spent many, many years in isolation, and I had so many people that were desperate for change for me. Go back. Release that to people that are in your life. Find your accountability. Find the structure that works best for you. There's so much out there online, and yes, there's a lot of conflicting information, but we are in the world where there's a lot of things at your fingertips. And yeah, I don't believe and trust in all of the resources, but start listening to things that are going to lift you up, that are going to start challenging the way that you think. But over all of it, you are not lost. Nothing is too broken to be fixed.
Oh, I love that. I love that line. I wholeheartedly agree with everything he just said, but I would love to add to, if you're in that dark place today, or you're in a place of having no hope, I would challenge you just to play a game with yourself today, and start to envision a life of freedom. Just envision it, like a movie, right? Just envision it. What would life be like with freedom and control over these things that you feel out of control in? What would it feel like? What would your confidence level be like? What would your waistline be like? What would it be like clothes shopping? What would your love life be like? What would all these things, right? Sure. All these things that they might be pains in your life right now because of your problems, because of your weight, because of your behaviors. Let's just imagine and create a vision, something that we can put some emotion behind, something that can spark oh man, that'd be amazing, Because sometimes that's all we need. We need to see it. We need to see some sort of future goal, some sort of future.
Yeah.
And if we can just for today, just envision a life with freedom in these things, and to be broken of these chains, right? The chains around your ankle, just all of a sudden, what would it be like to not have that, right? Create your own movie, your mind movie, and just see what it'd be like. And I think what you might find is, like Noah said, even if you're drinking or you're eating or you're binging goes down to 50% of what it was, that's 50%.
Yeah.
That's 50%. It's amazing.
Yeah. Look at the small victories.
Yeah.
They add up, and you're talking about creating the life, the vision of freedom. I can guarantee it, everyone out there that is listening to this that struggles right now has had at least one day where they felt free in their mind, in their actions, from their addictions, from their choices. Start to string those days. The pain and pleasure is going to kick in. And the minute you can click that in, along with your why, along with your support system, along with your transparency.
Powerful.
You're unstoppable.
Yeah.
You're unstoppable in what you want to accomplish in your life.
Yeah. You guys, we have just given you some amazing keys to success in this episode alone. And I would challenge you, if this resonated with you, maybe you need to go back and listen to it again. Maybe you need to go back and take notes. Maybe you need to go back and start reflecting and working on these things, working on building your circle of people that you can be transparent, not only with yourself, but with other people, right? Work on creating your why. Work on creating your vision. Work on doing these things. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to listen to this podcast and in 5 minutes have this all figured out. This is something you're going to have to work on. But the practical tips that we have just given you in the last 45 minutes truly could transform your life. I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that.
And I'm excited and grateful that we were able to do this. I think that open-ended conversations, you cannot fake passion or truth. You just can't.
No.
You know, and I think that you know, I know that I'm looking forward to just shooting more and doing more. I believe that there are so many topics that, from the applicable side of nutrition to the applicable side of weight loss and lifestyle change, to that emotional, deep depth of weight loss. I truly believe that we could cover some amazing stuff. And so I'm looking forward to that. And anybody that's on this listening, you know, look out for some amazing stuff ahead.
So guys, I kind of alluded in the beginning to what we've got going on here. And this all started from Noah and I, you know, just chatting for, I think, probably 2.5 hours in a parking lot of Zoo Culture Gym in Southern California. And we said, man, one of the reasons why I was so pulled to Noah and so attracted to connecting with him and collaborating with him was this term that he keeps using over and over, purpose. Because that is the word I've used for what happened in my life back in 2013 when I ditched my corporate IT job and went into the unknown, took a step into the unknown in faith, simply because I truly felt like my purpose in life was to help other people. And so understanding I was going to take a massive, massive pay cut, understanding I was stepping into entrepreneurship and the unknown, but my whole purpose was to help other people. And I see that in him, and I see that in the content he's putting out. I think if you follow both of us, which you should be, and you actually read and consume our stuff, you're going to see that everything we do, everything we put out there, the underlying theme is to help other people.
And I
the
said
free
that.
Stuff, we all did the free stuff, the podcast you're listening to, we're putting all this together. It's not costing you a dime, but we're doing this to help you and change your life. And if you decide to take it further and bring one of us into your life to help you on your journey, great. But continue to consume, continue to work on yourself, continue to consume this content, our content. And we've got more stuff in the works that's going to be coming out regularly that we are very, very excited about. That's real. And the one thing that we said we were going to do is we're going to make it much more transparent than what other influencers are doing out there, because we've gotten ourselves into a culture nowadays where it's fake, and we don't want fake.
No, there's no such thing as perfection, man. And you know, you just said it, and I'll say the same thing, is that one mission, and that's to touch those who are currently walking the shoes that we once did.
Yeah. Amen.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well,
guys, we're going to wrap up here on this one. I hope that you got as much out of this as I did. And if you want, go and watch the video version. It's going to be all over the place. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on links to on our channels. But guys, follow Noah Kingery at Transformational Truth. This guy is an absolute powerhouse. I just feel so connected with him because our purpose is the same, because our mission is the same. And so more stuff is coming. At Transformational Truth, you guys go follow him. Make sure to like and subscribe on iTunes. That's how we're going to grow and spread the word and get up the ranks on iTunes. We'll see you again next time. Peace.